So it seems like Microsoft has a new handheld game system coming out this upcoming fall in October. It's called the Xbox Ally or the ROG Xbox Ally. Um, and I'm not exactly sure whether or not this is supposed to compete with the Switch 2. I don't think it really will for the most part. It really depends on the pricing. I still don't have any details on the pricing or anything like that. I don't even know the official release date for the Xbox Ally, but I do know you'll be able to stream various like third party games and most likely stuff that or IPs that Activision Blizzard has, and they have a ton of them. Call of Duty, Overwatch, um, Candy Crush, a lot of stuff that you'll be able to stream this um on this device. And honestly, it doesn't surprise me that they're doing this because I remember years ago it was mentioned that Microsoft had planned on focusing more on cloud gaming. So obviously like streaming and all that stuff, and most likely they're going to move away from, I guess, physical like hardware, like discs for video games and stuff like that. And keep in mind, we're supposed to be getting a new Xbox home console in 2027, or at least that's the news that's been going on online like lately. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure whether or not Microsoft is giving it another try in terms of trying to be competitive in the console wars, because Sony and PlayStation has made it clear that they don't see them as competition. They view Nintendo more as competition than they do Xbox. And you look at you look at the last generation game systems. PlayStation 4 obviously sold the most. Nintendo Switch came closer than the Xbox Series X, and or not the Xbox Series X, the Xbox One. And obviously, like, a lot of people will go on record and tell you that the Xbox 360 was more iconic than Xbox One. I feel like in terms of just like overall video games in general, it seems like the graphics for like the PS4 and the Xbox One were a step up from the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but it felt like the games ended up becoming more boring, especially on the Xbox One side of things. And the thing is, one of the reasons why the PS4 did better in terms of sales is because they had more high profile first party games that did really well, like Marvel's Spider-Man and God of War and stuff like that. um it doesn't seem like that's really been the case with Xbox One. There's been really any really big um first party games that was able to sell as much as the top selling games on the PlayStation 4. And you look at Xbox consoles in general, it seemed like for years, Xbox console has only been like good for third party games. And that was the platform where third party games shine more than anything. And, and I don't know, I feel like at this point, I don't know. I feel like now they would probably have a better chance on being competitive with, I guess, Sony did in the past. Do I expect Xbox Ally to do as good as the PlayStation Portable did when it first came out back in the mid 2000s? I don't know. I mean, like, because back then, like, portable gaming was, I wouldn't say it was new, but I feel like, PlayStation did it on a level that had not been done before, and that was probably one of its main appeals. And I feel like with this, it's like, with the Xbox Ally, I feel like, Nintendo has been making portable, video game systems since like the 90s. And then you have PlayStation that's been doing it since the mid 2000s. I feel like Xbox is a little late to the party at this point, and it's something that they probably should have did like at least a decade ago. I feel like they would have shine more back then than they would now. For some reason, this just feels like, I don't know, it feels like it reeks of desperation because they realize that, no one has the same level of interest in Xbox that they did, 15 or 20 years ago. And I feel like this is just one of those things that is going to give people um another option, alternative, to the Switch 2 for the most part. But you look at the Switch 2 and you look at the high profile video games coming out on the Switch 2, I'm almost certain that, games like Mario Kart World and the Donkey Kong Gang and Metroid um, Prime 4, they're going to be top sellers, before the end of the year. But but yeah, I mean, this is something that caught a lot of people by surprise because about 2 years ago, this is something that was not on my bingo card. I did not expect this to be a thing. And I think it was also mentioned recently that Microsoft and Advanced Micro Devices, which is a technology corporation located in Cali, pretty much they're partnering up, and I guess the corporation's going to be producing, like, microchips and stuff like that for, Xbox consoles and stuff like that, from here on out. And honestly, this tells me that Microsoft, and some to some extent, they're desperate. I wouldn't say it's I don't think it's to a point where they feel like, they have to do whatever they can to kind of get people interested in Xbox and stuff like that. I feel like they're just trying a new strategy to, like, reach out to more consumers and more gamers um, because yeah, I mean, I feel like they're under the impression that less and less people are interested in their IPs and their consoles. And maybe it's, people don't want to pay a ridiculous amount of money for a video game console that only offers good graphics, but the games are like less than stellar, or they're just mid at best. But but yeah, I feel like video games in general, like, have lost a lot of their luster because I feel like, graphics and, like, AI and stuff like that has taken more precedent over, like, the quality of the game itself. And that's something that Nintendo doesn't really have much of an issue with, because you look at the Switch 2, you have graphics that are of PS4 quality, which is a console that came out more than a decade ago. But at the same time, the game is fun as hell. And the same thing can be said with the Switch One. It's like the quality of the Switch One was not on par with the PS4, the Xbox One, but the games were addictive. So it ended up doing better in terms of overall sales than the Xbox One. So I don't know. It really makes me wonder, whether or not the Xbox Ally is going to be a huge attraction once it comes out. And I don't know. I mean, I honestly feel like this is something that, I don't know. I feel like this is a good alternative for those who are adults, because I know that the Switch 2 in general, even though it caters to a more broad and casual audience, it's mainly for children. And I feel like the Xbox Ally is something that could be more geared towards adults. Um, the thing is, I feel like if you're able to, like, stream games and all that, like third party games, they need to have video games from, like, the Xbox 360 era, stuff like that, classics. Like, you talk about, like, Halo games. Some of the best Halo games came out during the 2000s decade, and it seemed like during the teens decade, it seemed like the series began to go off a cliff in terms of popularity. Granted, Halo 5 Guardians was actually a pretty decent game. It wasn't on the same level as, like, Halo 3 or Halo 3 ODST or Halo 2 or anything like that. Um, Halo Infinite was popular for a minute, and then it kind of just took a nosedive in terms of popularity after its release in 2021. But yeah, I do feel like older IPs and older games from back in the day. I feel like having those being accessible on the Xbox Ally would be a big deal. It's something that would definitely drive a lot of people to want to purchase the console. But but yeah, I mean, I feel like this is something that could definitely, I wouldn't say it would hurt the Switch 2, but it's something that could prevent the Switch 2 from selling as much as the original Switch console did, along with the tariffs that's being like set in place for I guess like foreign goods and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell how well this console is going to do from a commercial standpoint within its first year. Um I don't know. I expected to do somewhat of a decent number before the end of 2026. I'm not going to say 2025 because obviously that's not enough time. And obviously, like, people are going to be paying more attention to the Switch 2 and the PlayStation 5 and all that stuff. But let's be honest, when it comes down to, game consoles, at the moment, Xbox is like number three, PlayStation is like number one, and Nintendo's like number two, or at least that's how it seems in a lot of people's eyes. And it's crazy because about 15 years ago, I believe Xbox was like number two and PlayStation was number one and what have you. But between the Xbox Ally and the new Xbox console we're supposed to get in 2027, we'll see if things change before 2030.